y'all, welcome to Restless Chipotle Kitchen. Today we're going to make a vintage recipe that's quick, it's easy, it's delicious, and it deserves a comeback. Okay y'all, I know this looks like a lot of ingredients, but it's really not that bad, and there are ways that you can cut back on the prep time with the ingredients. For example, I'm using frozen bell peppers here, and you could actually get the onions and the celery already cut up, usually in your produce section. That cuts out a ton of time right there. So what we're going to need is chicken stock, celery, onion. I use Rotel tomatoes with chiles, but you can use diced tomatoes, that'll be fine. A good Italian seasoning mix, salt and pepper, tomato paste, the frozen bell peppers that I was talking about, some olive oil or any light oil. You don't necessarily need the olive oil. Parsley and cooked rice, okay? And chicken, of course. That's it. So this recipe is, I don't really know how old it is. I know it's vintage because mine is in one of my 1951, 1952 cookbooks, so I know it's been around a while. And I think that, like many Southern recipes, everybody is going to make it just a little bit different. So the first thing we need to do is cut the chicken breast, but you could also use thighs, by the way. Cut the chicken breast up into bite-sized pieces. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to pour about half the oil in the skillet and heat that up. Looks like I need to season this skillet again. If you don't know how to season a skillet, I do have a post on the blog about how to do it, even if it's in really bad shape. And this one definitely needs to be done tonight. Okay, I'm gonna let that warm up. And I'm just gonna add the bite-sized pieces of chicken. Now, when you cut your chicken breast or chicken thighs up, try to get them in uniform size, because you don't want any of them to overcook or undercook, right? Personally, I can never get them good and exact, but I do the best I can. So they don't have to be perfect, but get them as close as you can to the same size so that you don't have some overcooked and some undercooked. And I thought my skillet was a little bigger. I'm going to take some of those out, because what happens when you have too much in the skillet at once is your chicken doesn't saute, it steams, and we don't want that. So let me take about half of that out. See, we just keep it real here on Restless Chipotle, y'all. All right, that should be good. You want to have the pieces with some room in between them so that they have they have space to cook. Maybe one or two more, or 5 more. There we go. Okay. It's better to do it in 2 batches if your skillet isn't big enough than to just try to do it in 1 batch and have it not cook well. You can see that instead of cooking, these just kind of got a little white. That's from steaming. It won't ruin anything per se, but the flavor isn't quite as good as when they go in there and saute real well. Okay, so we're going to leave that for a few minutes, and then I'll come back. Okay, these are finished. I put my thermometer in there, and they are reading 165, which is perfect for chicken. As you can see, they did not brown very much. Some of them did that were on the outsides, But that's what happens when you get your chicken or whatever you're sauteing. If you get it too close together, too crowded in the pan, it's not going to brown. There's going to be a whole lot of water, like you can see here, just a whole lot of steam. So what they did was they steamed. The next batch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out and put them on a plate, and then I'm going to dry out the pan and put in a tiny bit more oil, and then do the next batch. And you should be able to see that the next batch caramelizes a whole lot better. So let me do that, and I'll be back. Okay. These are the ones that I did before when I had too much in there and they didn't start browning. You know, I had to take some of them out. And these are the ones that I dried the pan out, put a little bit more oil in, and put them in. They've been cooking the same length of time. They're done. But you can see that the caramelization on these is much better than caramelization on these. Ultimately, in this dish, it is not going to matter. But I just wanted to show y'all why you don't want to overfill your pan. And since I made the mistake, it was a good teaching moment, right? For this dish, chicken Creole or Creole chicken, whichever way you like to say it, it doesn't matter so much because the sauce more than covers up any chicken that isn't nicely caramelized on the outside. But in some recipes, it's going to make a huge difference. So always remember not to overfill your pan. Do it in 2 batches if you need to. Okay. Whew, it's hot. Of course it's hot. There's still a flame on underneath that. All right. Ouch. We're going to leave the pan with all of the pieces of chicken and all of that still in there. And we're going to just add the rest of the oil, the onion, the celery, the bell pepper, and I probably am going to add more bell pepper to that. Once that thawed out, it wasn't as full as I thought it was. Now, this one, you don't need to worry so much about overfilling the pan, obviously. You just want to saute these vegetables until they're soft and they pick up the flavor from the chicken that you just cooked. I keep peppers on hand pretty much all the time in the freezer because I use them so much. And if you're going to cook with them, it doesn't really matter whether they're frozen or not. So that's roughly cup and a half to 2 cups of onions, cup and a half to 2 cups of celery diced, and a cup and a half to 2 cups of bell pepper. And you can buy it diced in your produce section just like you can the celery and the onion. I get it frozen, and usually how I find it frozen is in strips, so I don't feel like that matters a whole lot. We're just going to cook this down and get all the flavor out of it. Okay. Okay, the vegetables are nice and soft, and they've soaked up. You can see they've kind of discolored from soaking up the juices from the chicken. So they're real nice and flavorful. I don't cook these vegetables until they're mushy. Obviously, the bell peppers are going to be a little mushy because they were frozen, but the celery still has just a little bit of bite back. And that's how I like it. You can cook it longer if you want to. That's fine. At this point, we're going to add the tomatoes. And you, like I said, you can use plain diced tomatoes. Don't drain them. You can use Rotel tomatoes. Don't drain them. The chicken broth or chicken stock. The difference between broth and stock is chicken broth tends to be just chicken, and chicken stock tends to have chicken and onion and some seasoning in it, and I prefer the heartier flavor of chicken stock or beef stock or whatever kind of stock, but you may prefer broth. Either way is fine. In a pinch, you can use either tomato juice or water, as a matter of fact. Okay, we've got that going, and we're going to add the tomato paste and stir that in. So when I used to make this in the past, right about here I would add crushed red pepper or use Cajun seasoning to spice it up a little bit. My daughter is going through chemo. She has an inoperable brain tumor, and since she's been going through chemo, she can't handle spice. Well, the radiation started it, but the chemo has pretty much messed with it too. So you may, and I'll have notes in the recipe on the blog especially, but you may want this to be a little spicier than it is, and if so, this is where you would add maybe a pinch of crushed red pepper or some Louisiana hot sauce or or the Cajun seasoning, and to make it spicier to your own taste. Okay, once that starts simmering, I'm going to go ahead and add my Italian seasoning and my salt and pepper. And once that's all stirred in, oh my Italian seasoning is on my spatula here. Okay, once that's all stirred in, I'm going to put on a top. I'm going to turn the heat down to low, and I'm going to just let that simmer for 5 to 10 minutes until it cooks down, and then I'll be back. Okay, it's been almost 10 minutes, so we're going to take the cover off and kind of clear the smoke. I know that, not the smoke, the steam. And you can see this is cooked down really nicely. Now, some people like to have a nice thick sauce, and some people like it to be a little thinner. If you would like it to be a little thinner, you can add a little more chicken stock or a little water or a little tomato juice and thin it down. I like it like this, so that's the way I'm leaving it. And we'll just add our chicken back in. And stir it so that the chicken gets covered with the sauce. And that's what I'm saying. If your chicken doesn't get that nice caramelization on the outside when you're sauteing it, don't worry about it, because this sauce is going to cover it up. This, to me, is real similar to chicken cacciatore, or, chicken cacciatore. But it's got a little bit more of a southern flavor to it. And it's served over rice, which makes it a little different too. But it's just delicious, and it's so easy, so quick to do. You could even use like leftover chicken or rotisserie chicken so that you could skip the cooking time and on the chicken, and then you're looking at maybe a 10-15 minute meal at the most, right? And that is that. So now what I'm going to do is put the cover back on, let that chicken heat through for about 5 minutes, and I'll be back. Ooh, look at that. It smells unbelievably good in here. The peppers, the onions, so good. That chicken is so tender. And the way you're going to serve this is over your rice. And really, with all of the vegetables in here, a starch, the protein, it is a complete meal. Maybe add a green salad, and you are good to go. One of the things that I like to do before I serve it is to take some parsley and just sprinkle it on top. It just gives it a little extra green color, and I think it makes it a lot prettier. Okay, we'll just plate this right up. A little bit of rice. I don't like a lot of rice. I am at the age where I don't need a lot of carbs. So you put as much on as you want. I'm gonna stick with just a little bit. And then we're gonna put that chicken right on top. Maybe another sprinkle of parsley. And good to go. Well, y'all, this chicken is so good. The rice it soaks up the sauce. The sauce is full of all of that fresh onion and pepper and celery flavor. A little bit of heat from the Rotel tomatoes, but not too much. And the chicken is so tender. You are gonna love it. This is great any time of the year. It's delicious in the winter. It's delicious in the summer. And I even like it served just a little warmed up in the summer. Not cold, but not hot either. Just sort of warming it up to room temperature. And oh gosh, the flavor is just amazing. I hope you'll try it. I hope you'll like it. And I hope you'll visit the blog. I will leave a link to the Cajun spice mix that I was talking about during the video, in case you want to use that. So that's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe. I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all later, okay? Bye-bye.